Yeah. In Barthelme's sentence, fragmentation creates a disjointed narrative and characters search for meaning. And the title of our today's class, that is Fragmentation and Ambiguity in Donald Barthelme's short story sentence. While ambiguity in language and plot frustrates the reader's attempt to find the coherent interpretation in this short story, readers can't understand the meaning, can't interpret the true meaning. Actually, meaning can't always be true. Meaning is always subjective. That means what is the meaning of a sentence according to one person? That meaning may differ to the explanation by others. That is called the dissimilar interpretation. This deliberate instability, often reflecting a chaotic and uncertain model world. Actually, the intent and the meaning and the frustration, hesitation, that are the main characteristics of modern world that happens in the mind of every individual in modern times, and especially in the postmodern times. And Donald Barthelme's short story is not an exception. In this short story, Donald Barthelme wanted to express the fragmentation, ambiguity, frustration, hesitation of the modern people and the postmodern people with the fragmentation and ambiguity of the sentence, the short story. Makes the very act of struggling for meaning a central theme of the story, mirroring the character's own existential quandaries, that is existential crisis that happens in this short story. Disjointed narrative that is characterized by non-linear timelines and disparate senses to break from the traditional storytelling. That means we have started, that is, we have seen the sentence is started with the notion that the sentence wants to take rest in a full stop. But it couldn't. The sentence couldn't. In the same way, it happens to the human mentality. Advance absence of a clear plot. There is no plot. Plot means that every short story will be a story. And the knitting of the story, the arrangement of the story is called the plot of a short story or a novel. But we don't see any plot. We don't see any story in this short story, the sentence. Rather, the disorientation, the fragmentation and ambiguity is there. Characters encounter seemingly random fragments and are felt and are left to piece together in a story. You know, the collage. Collage means several pieces of pictures can be collected and can present a whole new and innovative shape that is called collage. So here, the absence of plot, that means the fragmentation of several stories, the fragmentations of several images, the fragmentation of several metaphors have joined together to express a whole meaning. That is, and it means that there is no single and coherent understanding emerges in this short story, the sentence. The fragmented structure serves to reflect the alienation and existential uncertainty. Why that fragmented structure? Actually, as I have said earlier, that is fragmented structure represent the alienation and uncertainty of the modern characters in a world that lacks clear meaning or order. Actually, we postmodern people, we modern people, we suffer from several uncertainty, alienation, frustration, and hesitation. We are not confirmed in our way. But if anybody is asked why you were so frustrated, why you were so alienated, there is no clear meaning. There is no specific meaning in this sentence. That is what happened in this short story, the sentence. Ambiguity will be there. Barthelme's language often features awkwardness and cliche that lose their referential quality, creating a sense of ambiguity. It means that you can't coherent, you can connect the incidents or content of the short story with anything else. That means the awkwardness, that is the ambiguity is there, are there. Indeterminacy of meaning. You can't determine any meaning of this short story, the sentence. Characters are confronted with the signs they can't interpret, leading to a feeling of unsatisfactory indeterminacy rather than a clear singular meaning. As I have said, single sentence, the sentence with clear meaning is not a sentence according to Donald Barthelme. Donald Barthelme said that the sentence will have clear meaning, that would be the single meaning. But if there is an ambiguity, every individual will try to portray a meaning in their subjective way, in their own way. That is the beauty of these Donald Barthelme's short story, the sentence. Just as characters struggle to find meaning in the fragments they encounter, readers are challenged to find meaning in the multitude of potential interpretations. Multitude of potential interpretation. It means that when a sentence will be in ambiguity, then this sentence will be interpreted in a multiple ways. And the multiple ways, according to Donald Barthelme, that multiple interpretation are not invalid, rather they are valid. Every interpretation by every individual is potential, and that they carry meaning in such kind of meaning in ambiguity without arriving at a definite answer. So relationship between fragmentation and ambiguity, a thematic parallel. The reader's experience of ambiguous fragments mirrors the content of the story, where characters grapple with the similar feelings or disorientation or and lack of certainty, as we have said several times in this lecture. Embracing indeterminacy, ambiguity is not necessarily a flaw, but a deliberate choice. Actually, ambiguity is not the accidental creation by our writer Donald Barthelme, but this is intentionally done by our writer Donald Barthelme. Why? It is not a flaw. It is a deliberate choice by the writer to explore the nature of interpretation and embrace indeterminacy as a positive value. So multiple meanings, multiple coherent meanings of an ambiguous sentence is a positive in sense that every interpretation will carry weight in this sentence. Meaning in the struggle. And the act of searching for meaning within the fragmented and ambiguous text, even if successful, becomes a significant part of the story's overall meaning. So fragmentation and ambiguity becomes the meaning. So deconstruction of the fragmentation and ambiguity in Donald Barthelme's sentence, how it is. A literary innovator, Donald Barthelme is renowned for his experimental approach to storytelling. As we saw, that is a different storytelling. The way Donald Barthelme has portrayed his story is good enough. His works often defy traditional narrative structure, embracing fragmentation, ambiguity, and a playful deconstruction of language. Construction, that means the building of a language or the making of the language, and deconstruction, that means the remake of the sentence. And by remaking and by deconstructing the sentence, the language becomes deconstructed. That is the way we have seen in Donald Barthelme's short story, The Sentence. One of the key elements of understanding Barthelme's style is his use of fragmented sentences and narratives. Rather than presenting a clear linear storyline, he pieces together disparate elements, forcing the reader to actively participate in constructing meaning. Barthelme short stories often lack in clear beginning, middle, and end. Instead, they present a series of seemingly unrelated events, observation, and reflection. So the sentence has no beginning, middle, and end. That means no full stop in the whole sentence. So it is a part of sentence. That is a fragmented sentence. So in this part of fragmented sentence, several elements which are not related, several observations which are not related, several reflections which are not related, that have been portrayed, that have been presented in the short story, the sentence. This fragmentation mirrors the chaotic and overwhelming nature of modern life, where individuals are bombarded with information from various sources. Actually, when you work in your daily life, you will be getting so many information relating to your life, relating to the country's situation, relating to the social situation, relating to the security situation. So many information are there. Just like that, in a city, when there were bombing in a multiple way, in such a way, in modern times, you are getting information like the parts of several bombs that are coming in your mind, and your mind can reflect that several bombastic or several bombard situation or information in your mind. That is haphazard. Barthelme challenges the reader to find coherent in a world that often feels fragmented and disjointed. So ambiguity is another hallmark of Barthelme's writing. He avoids providing definite answer or explanation, leaving the reader to grapple with the multiple interpretation that I have said. The multiplication interpretation is in a positive value, in a positive meaning, that interpretation will be multiple and every interpretation is very important. This deliberate ambiguity encourages critical thinking and challenges the notion that there is always a single and coherent understanding of the event. It means that sometimes we think that every sentence will have a single and clear meaning. Donald Barthelme challenges this idea. Rather, every sentence will have multiple meaning. If it becomes the sentences of every meaning, that you see that uh, uh, remind us the word in a neutral way uh, uh, by foregrounding the artificiality of language. Barthelme reminds us that the words are not neutral, conveyor of meaning, rather tools that can be used to shape and manipulate our understanding of the world. That means language is not neutral. Rather, language can portray multiple meanings, and that multiple meanings help us to understand the modern world. Furthermore, Barthelme's work frequently incorporates elements of postmodernism, such as self-reflexivity, intertextuality. Self-reflexivity refers to the text awareness to itself as a constructed artifact, that is self-reflectivity. Barthelme often draws attention to the act of writing, reminding the reader that they are engaging with a fictional creation. That means readers response theory, most probably you know that term. That means reader will be a part of art creation. In which way? Whenever reader will be involved in the process of making the art, that would be explained in reader response theory. So by the term of self-reflexivity, Barthelme tries to put the reader response theory in postmodern literature. Intertextuality, on the other hand, involves the incorporation of the reference to the other texts, both literary and non-literary way. By weaving together fragments from the various sources, Barthelme creates a rich tapestry of meaning. Rich tapestry, you know, that is the artwork or the needlework. In the needlework, you see several kinds of colors, several kinds of strings will be there, and that will make a good portrait. In the same way, Barthelme creates a rich tapestry of meaning. That means multiple meaning, multifarious perspectives, multifarious vision will be there, reflection will be there, that invites the reader to explore the connections between different texts and ideas. The effect of Barthelme's techniques is to create a sense of disorientation and uncertainty. The reader is constantly challenged to make sense of the fragmented narrative, to fill in the gaps, and to construct their own interpretation of the events. This can be a frustrating experience for the readers accustomed to more traditional forms of storytelling. Actually, readers are ready to understand the meaning, a single meaning, but the modern reader gets frustrated. The modern reader gets frustrated after studying Barthelme's short story. That is not the traditional form of storytelling. It is a different, fragmented and ambiguous storytelling. However, it can also be a rewarding one. That technique, that innovative technique, innovation, ever-elevation, newer innovation is the technique of postmodern literature. And in this postmodern short story written by Donald Barthelme is a rewarding technique of storytelling, as it encourages active engagement and critical thinking, active engagement and critical thinking of the reader and also the audience and also the writer as well. Ultimately, Barthelme's fragmentation and ambiguity serves a larger purpose. By disrupting conventional narrative structure, he challenges the reader to question their assumption about meaning, knowledge, and reality. He suggests that the reader is not a fixed and stable entity, but rather a fluid and ever-changing construct. That means, reader, you can't, in postmodern literature, reader is not constant. Rather, they are fluid. They changes their mentality. They change their mentality every time. They change their mentality every time, and they construct their own meaning in every minute. And so one reader is different, far different from other reader. That is the perspectives, that is reader response theory in this Donald Barthelme short story sentence. In this view, meaning is not something that is passively received, but rather something that is actively created through the interpretation and interaction. Interpretation and interaction. Reader's interpretation and reader interaction. Reader's involvement will make multiple meaning of a certain text that we find in Donald Barthelme's short story, which is written in ambiguous and fragmented way. In conclusion, Donald Barthelme's use of fragmentation and ambiguity is a deliberate strategy designed to challenge the reader's expectation and to encourage critical thinking. By disrupting conventional narrative structure and employing unconventional language, he creates a sense of disorientation and uncertainty that forces the reader to actively participate in the construction of meaning. While this can be a challenging experience, it can also be a rewarding one, as it invites the reader to question their assumption about the world and to explore the possibilities of language and interpretation. Thus, Donald Barthelme's experimental writing embraces fragmentation and ambiguity, defying traditional narrative structures. Barthelme challenges readers to actively construct meaning from their own way, from the fragmented narratives, mirroring the chaotic nature of the modern life. Through unconventional language and postmodern elements, Barthelme prompts critical thinking and questions assumption about meaning and reality. So, meaning and reality. Most probably, you know the analogy of a glass half full of milk. Someone say the glass is half empty. Some other will say the glass is half full. It means that a thing that is a glass, we see half of the glass is filled with milk, but that glass can be interpreted by different readers that the glass is half full. Other will say the glass is half empty. So that is the multiple meaning in fragmentation and ambiguity. So fragmentation and ambiguity is Donald Barthelme's deliberate choice to have reader's perception readers' involvement and criticality of readers' criticality in the world that is chaotic in modern times. Thank you. So that is about Donald Barthelme's